Hi, this is Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons history. The 25th year of Dungeons & Dragons history, 1998. We're going to talk about that year through the filter of clear, catalyst, location, entity, artifact, and relationship. So who is the catalyst for Dungeons & Dragons in 1998? Well, he is a gentleman by the name of Stan Sakai. Stan Sakai created Usagi Yojimbo. Usagi Yojimbo is a comic book character, and quite literally, he is a rabbit samurai. And essentially, he lives in an anthropomorphic world that tells stories within feudal Japan using animals, right? A very unusual property, but it is also a classic property in comic books. And it is telling these really winsome stories in feudal Japan with a rabbit with a rabbit samurai, right? Usagi Yojimbo is just wonderful. Now, the reason why Stan Sakai is a catalyst for Dungeons & Dragons at this point is in the last year, in 1997, there was an absolutely shocking event that shocked the entire industry. It shocked every Dungeons & Dragons designer. It shocked every Dungeons & Dragons dungeon master. It shocked every Dungeons & Dragons player. Absolutely no one saw it coming that Peter Adkison, right, would purchase Dungeons & Dragons, purchase TSR, lock, stock, and barrel like a trinket off of the profits that 4 years of Magic the Gathering had brought in, literally tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. They were stacking money like pancakes at WotC, right? And Peter Adkison was very smart, very cautious, saved his money, and then made a move to give his gaming company power, to say, we're not just a one-trick pony. We are here to play in the tabletop gaming space, right? So they purchase Dungeons & Dragons completely, right? And everybody's jaw drops and goes, what? Right? And the biggest thing is, this is a bell ringer saying video games are here and the world has changed. And if you have an innovative idea, there's still money to be made in print medium because, of course, Magic the Gathering is a print product, right? But you've got to do some innovation, right? And I will tell you right now, it was so frightening, right, to the world to realize that since 1974 to 1997, there had been innovation in Dungeons & Dragons specifically in its rule set, but there had been virtually no innovation in almost anything else, in any really significant way, and certainly not in ways that actually captured the market or delivered money to TSR in large amounts, right? And to be fair, TSR had tried Dragon Dice and they had tried Spellfire, right? Both games which failed, which did not succeed, and were incredibly expensive to produce, okay? So, how is Stan Sakai, the creator of a Rabbit Samurai, serving as a catalyst in 1998 for Dungeons & Dragons? Well, the biggest thing is there is now in 1998 a Usagi Yojimbo role-playing game. So there is a role-playing game about a Rabbit Samurai, and it is almost like a whisper to the world. It's going to be okay. Everybody relax. The rule set and the structure for tabletop role-playing games. Let's get some friends together. Let's use these awesome books and these polyhedral dice to tell a story. Even though TSR is having major problems, right? And Dungeons & Dragons seemed like it was on the brink, right? The reality is, the model is rock solid. It is an amazing foundation, and there are still millions of people across the world who are intelligent, creative, and artistic, who desperately love tabletop role-playing games and recognize Dungeons & Dragons as the king of that world, right? And so Stan Sakai's wonderful, delightful, surprising little Usagi Yojimbo role-playing game. And he did not create the role-playing game. He created the character that fueled this role-playing game. But he serves as a catalyst of joy. Like, just a reminder, hey, it's okay. Everybody relax. It's going to be all right. We can still have fun. We can, and tabletop role-playing games aren't going anywhere. And here's just this joyful little game in 1998, almost as like a little treat, like a candy bar, something sweet to make everybody smile, right? Because it was, man, I can't, just looking back, and my memories are so clear, it was shocking and disturbing to see how fast D&D was just swept up like a marble off the floor by Wizards of the Coast. It was amazing. And no one in the world, if you told somebody in 1993 that the rock star of the tabletop gaming world, Dungeons and Dragons, would just get acquired as a byproduct by a collectible card game company, people would just be like, no, right? But that's what happened. In 1997, again, 1997 was a massive hinge in the history of tabletop role-playing games, in the history of Dungeons & Dragons. It's huge, right? What is our location in 1998? Our location is Politics and Prose, a wonderful bookstore in Washington, D.C. Now, Politics and Prose at this point in 1998 and today is doing the same thing. They are having senators who have written books. They're having Congress people who have written books. They're having pundits who have written books. And they're having people who are just tangentially connected to politics coming in, sitting down, sitting down and signing books, standing up and reading excerpts from their books. And that is still happening today in 2019. And the reason why we're continuing to talk about locations that are connected to print is Dungeons & Dragons, as technology unfolds, right? And people are frightened by the idea, and technology is getting rid of many, many things that are not necessary anymore, right? And there's this idea of, is print necessary? Well, the reality is Dungeons & Dragons is crying from the hills. Print is relevant and print is important. And to this day, 2019, the core vector, the absolute way that D&D is delivered is through print media, right? And so Politics and Prose is doing that for books overall and saying books are important, authors are important, interactions between authors and readers are important, right? And it's incredibly important to just hear and see all of this and how it's folding out, right? So Politics and Prose, the bookstore in Washington, D.C. is our location for 1998. Who is our entity in 1998? Well, our entity in 1998 is Ryan Gosling, the actor. So at this point in 1998, he's literally one of his big titles is Young Hercules, right? So, and at this point, Ryan Gosling is not the mega superstar actor that he would become. He hasn't done Drive. He hasn't done Place Behind the Pines. He hasn't done La La Land. He hasn't done 2049, Blade Runner 2049, right? He hasn't, he's not an Oscar-nominated actor. You know what I mean? So and really, why are we talking to him now? He's an entity in this year because I've talked to you about several celebrities who have said, Dungeons & Dragons is important to me, right? And so Dungeons & Dragons is getting some traction with celebrities, and it has traction in Hollywood, both in film and television, right? But Ryan Gosling, at this point in his career, and to this day, right, is a reminder to every Dungeons & Dragons designer, every Dungeons & Dragons dungeon master, and every Dungeons & Dragons player that Dungeons & Dragons is still niche, right? That while it peeks its head into the mainstream every now and then, there are many, many, many celebrities who would never, ever attach their name to Dungeons & Dragons, either because they don't wish to, because Dungeons & Dragons absolutely still has nerd rubbed on it, right? And honestly, even the word nerd is starting to begin to change in the late 90s. What the meaning of that word is beginning to change, right? But the reality is, Dungeons & Dragons and cool have never been interlocking puzzle pieces. They're always two things that have not quite fit together, okay? So while there's a group of people who think it's super cool, there's still many people who are either ignorant of the game or choosing to say, that's not part of my life. I don't sit around and pretend to be an elf, right? And so, and Ryan Gosling is just one of the people within Hollywood who takes a different road to cool that absolutely does not overlap with geek, with nerd. It's a different path, right? We just have to recognize that, right? All right. Now, what is our artifact in 1998? Our artifact is MSZ-006 Zeta Gundam model, right? So what is a 006 Zeta Gundam model? Well, this Zeta Gundam model is a model that is put together, a plastic model that can be put together that perfectly shows absolutely perfectly shows the dimensions, the proportions for a Gundam mecha robot from Gundam, the intellectual property, which has multiple shows, and actually is beginning to really roll out and become very dominant within Japan, right? Now, why is this artifact important in the history of Dungeons & Dragons? Well, at this point, right, Gundam is the most successful mecha anime ever created within Japan, okay? And at this point, there are even shows about mecha within America. Robotech is starting to roll out, and we're seeing, there's interest in mecha in even American mecha, right? But the reality is the IP that absolutely dominates mecha overall for the world is Gundam, right? It's intellectual property. It's a show, it's a story, right? Now that's exactly what Dungeons & Dragons is, okay? It's a show, it's a story, it's a game, right? But it's an intellectual property. Dungeons & Dragons is intellectual property, right? Now, what Gundam does in Japan is it starts making these Gundam models, saying, we got a lot of robots in our show, and we're going to do these super perfect, super pristine, they actually call them perfect grade, master grade, right? They do these super high-end models that fans can create to build the mecha that they saw on the show, okay? This will become an absolutely massive industry. Gundams will be sold on virtually in the vast majority of countries all over the world. America will import these Gundam models by the thousands. It will become a major, major hobby in Japan. It's very relaxing. It's not too expensive. Once you're done with the model, they can be displayed. And this will become something really special and unique. So the MSZ-006 Zeta Gundam model is our artifact in 1998. But one of the things that it's pointing out is Dungeons & Dragons has had a cartoon show. It is an intellectual property, right? There should be toys for Dungeons & Dragons. And there are toys for Dungeons & Dragons. But they have never, ever sold well. And so while Dungeons & Dragons is crushing it in the tabletop role-playing game space, while it is very, very doing a great job doing a really good job delivering exciting games and rules for its players, there's this whole area, right, of media, shows, and toys that it is absolutely getting wrong, that there has been a stumble, and the momentum that could have been gained for a line of Dungeons & Dragons toys, a line of Dungeons & Dragons models, a line of Dungeons & Dragons clothing, right? While Dungeons & Dragons has always been connected to licensing, it has never fully executed on its potential in these areas. And the MSZ-006 Zeta Gundam model, where the Gundam animes absolutely, just slam dunk, turning their IP into profit with these models. D&D has just got room to grow in this area. It still does to this day, right? All right. So with that, let's talk about the relationship for 1998. What is the relationship for 1998? Dungeons & Dragons has a relationship to animals, right? Now, how does Dungeons & Dragons have a relationship to its animals? Well, all of its players most of its players have played a wizard or a druid. Wizards have familiars, and druids have animal companions. Rangers also have animal companions, and so wolves and owls and falcons and all these really special animal relationships between player characters and these animal companions or familiars will be super fun, and it will just add so much joy to the game of Dungeons & Dragons. But also, in IRL, in real life, there will be cats sitting on tables, hitting dice, right? And when, Sally invites Sarah and Alice over for their game of Dungeons & Dragons, Sarah and Alice will pet Sally's cat, pet Sally's German Shepherd, right? So animals are absolutely part of the game. They're part of the game IRL. They're part of the game in the fantasy world. And many, many Dungeons & Dragons designers, even today, Mike Mearls puts up pictures of his wonderful dog, and we can all enjoy that. And I know, Mike Mearls' dog better than I know the dog of my next door neighbor, because I see more pictures and see what he's doing, And so it's really unique, and Dungeons & Dragons will have a wonderful, beautiful relationship with animals, and the Dungeons & Dragons designers, Dungeons & Dragons dungeon masters, and Dungeons & Dragons players will have this relationship with animals in the game and out of the game that makes the game richer and wonderful and special, right? All right, that is a clear history of the 25th year of Dungeons & Dragons history, 1998. Let me know your thoughts on Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo. Have you ever read those amazing stories? Also, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful day. Take care.